Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Co-Creating with AI. I'm Martin Källström, and with me, as always, is Rasmus. How are you today, Rasmus?
A little sleepy. Stayed up too late last night. I was like in town without family and no social plans. I just ended up working way too late. But that was pretty nice.
Yes.
But otherwise, good.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm good too. I'm a bit sleepy. I watched the Napoleon movie last night, and it was good. It kept me up too late. But I also reflected on the state of voice AI yesterday, how it's really coming along. We saw the figure demo, and since I'm working with voice full time at the moment, it's incredible for me to see how much activity is going on in that space, and it's really like taking a new turn over the past month, I think, and for me it's awesome because it allows us to just have a little bit more, so to say, artificially human connection with AI to approach uncanny valley in a whole new way.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty nuts. Especially, I'm not sure if like the listeners have seen like the new figure OpenAI demo, but it's pretty nuts to see. And I think like the way people analyzed it's not manipulated. Like, of course, they practiced it beforehand,
Mm.
but it's not cut. It's not like speeded up. It's nothing like that. You see it like happening
Yes.
during like a couple of minutes, and just sort of retell it for those who haven't seen it yet, but you should. Then it's pretty much like a robot standing by a table, and it looks, it has its arms up, it's standing there with the OpenAI kind of logo or something going across the screen, which is its face, and then a person asking it to do things verbally, like there's an apple on the table. It doesn't say that, but hand me like I'm hungry. Can I have something to eat? And the robot then figures out apple is something to eat, gives it to him, and then he asks it to reflect on why it did that, and it explains it. And then he puts some trash on the table and like asks it the question, but also asks it at the same time to answer it while sorting the trash. And then it like basic gives us like quite, I mean, rudimentary, but still probably IQ 80 above kind of tasks, and it completes them and figures them out. And it's only through voice, and it can figure out things and then use its body to accomplish the task. So I mean, for me that was like, whoa, okay, future is here, and those things are going to be potentially everywhere, very very soon, as soon as they're cost efficient. But yes, I mean that's really like shook my mind a little bit. Like,
Mm.
okay, we're already there. It's like I was like, I had a little bit in the future, but like already there.
Yeah.
uh,
And it really closes the loop, like the combination of the embodiment of AI with the physical robot, and then it's humanoid as well. It's not like a dog robot or just one arm picking things, but it's a humanoid, and then closing the loop with voice and an LLM that has some insight into, or probably the LLM is steering the planning of the robot, so it of course can introspect and see like what did I think about when I perform those plans.
yeah, it's interesting. Like, do you have any like sense of like what goes into building that? Because it's, for me, it seems to be so many aspects. It like needs to visually understand what's happening,
Mm.
what's in front of it. So that's kind of some image to text kind of modeling. It's like just
Mm.
labeling everything, understanding it. And then of course we have kind of the voice to text. Someone says something and interprets that as a prompt basically to do something.
Mm.
And uses both that visual situation and that instruction to then figure out what to do. But then that, so to say, probably text based, like this is what I should do, is actually utilizing probably figures API as custom actions. If we take like the way assistants work, the way we've seen like you build things in ChatGPT, so it actually can utilize those actions to move its hands, etc.
Yeah.
To do. I'm just guessing here. I mean, is it that kind of like simple, so to say, that this is just like the core of what OpenAI is built. It's just like, so like when we put a robot on the other end of like the assistant API, so to say, with custom actions, then this happens. Is that it? It's just basically GPT-4 Turbo Vision, Whisper, and a GPT-4, or maybe the newest version like they're going to release, and then you have figures robot with an API. Do you think like is it just that, or is this something else?
No, so there is one translation layer which is being on display here, which is actually kind of new. It's not unique to figure, but it's new. Like it's research that has only been going on for the past year, and not only within figure, but in NVIDIA and other companies as well, where the translation between intentions, which is what the LLM can output, like pick up the apple, hand to the man, or something like that. And that's a plan that the LLM can come up with it in some detail, and it can be, but the LLM can't say like move the fingers like this and this to hold the apple. That's really old school robotics research. It's a like a big control problem, not to hold the apple so hard that you crush it, but not so soft that you drop it. And but there is and actually that's a part where they could have been cheating, and the clue to some level of cheating going on for me is the way the robot drops the apple in his hand, like super casually just drops it and he catches it. And there's something there to me which is off, because that's not a robust plan for the robot to come up with. I'm just going to drop it in the air and hoping the human catches it. It's not robot. It's not like robotically robust to behavior in the real world to expect that
Right.
from the human. So maybe there's some level of cheating there, where they in advance told the robot, when you hand something to the human, you're allowed to expect them to catch it in the air or something, or even more like just move it to this XYZ position and open your hand. That's what it means. I mean, that it could be that level of cheating going on, but there is something new there, translating textual intentions to actions in the physical world. And it is what NVIDIA is also showcasing with their recent research about bots acting out actions inside Minecraft and so on. Like they are building frameworks where you can translate an instruction to an action. And that's, I was looking yesterday at the same kind of like instruction to action layer, but within web browsing, where an agent can direct. There's a couple of new projects around that. One called Laveg, which is really also an open source project, where they have an amazing demo where you can really see like the LLM carrying out action in a web browser, which an LLM has given as a plan, like click the search box, type this text, hit enter, and then the LLM can carry out those instructions. And it's a really important part of building a robot as well, because it has to carry out actions in the real world, and and there needs to be a translation layer between the plan and the physical action.
Yeah, I mean, or it could even be like, I mean, if I'm just thinking about how I've understood that Tesla is doing it with their new autopilot, and it's basically the same thing, right? Even though,
yes,
I mean, I guess less different controls. It's basically, gas, brake, and turn in, two directions, right? So it's much simpler in one sense, I guess, but also high speed, etc., high risk. But the way I've understood that is they've actually trained, directly, like basically on the data set of what the action is, in terms of braking and steering, to the video stream. That there's a direct kind of neural network there, a direct like transformer model between those, without the intermediate step of anything else, of any rules. And that's the new like FSD 12, if I understood it correctly. And they've been working on it for like a year or two. And in this case, it could be that what they have is actually, text to action, that they have their own model with figures, action set, like basically robots, they're training it on, you know, uh, basically data on people probably moving to instructions or
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
And then that's like what they're feeding into. I'm not sure. Like there's something there that's if this is not completely fake, that is, it seems like it needs something much more direct than just like putting together, having strict actions in an API, which I
Yeah.
just guessed in the beginning. It seems like that wouldn't
Yeah.
like that would be robotic or robotic.
And they are also showing how I think they've used the sort of the inherent world model inside GPT-4 as a world model for the robot. And the world model is a really huge buzzword right now, because it's turning out that both that LLMs are building some kind of world model, like just a model about the world, by parsing human language. It also turns out that um, generative AI in other modalities like Midjourney making images, or Sora, which OpenAI is demoed, making videos, that it has to have some kind of world model which is an understanding of what are physical, with the laws of nature, like what is gravity, what is happening if I drop an apple, what will happen, but also just in a sense, which is in the display in the figure demo, what is going on with the dishes there, like when I say where where do you think the plate and the cup belongs, and the robot says probably in the dishwasher. So and then they ask the robot to move them there, and they are seeing there are slots, or there's room for the cup and the plate in the dishwasher tray, so they can figure out that you probably put them where there's room for them. And that is also like a world model on display, and it's not made clear like how much of that is directed by GPT-4 as an LLM, and how much is inside more of figures, proprietary technology, and with a model about the physical world.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting also that we're kind of learning how these things work.
Yeah.
That's like one of the crazier things, like quite comparable to, like, I have a close friend who's a neuroscientist, and like our brains work and they can do a lot of things, right? And we're
Mm.
just beginning to kind of understand how they work and why they work.
Mm.
In one sense, like there's a lot there still to discover. And I feel like, it's almost going to be like AI neuroscience. It's going to be kind of like a discipline, where
Yeah.
people just understanding how these things work and running experiments on them, because we basically created a new type of brain, right?
Mm.
In many ways.
Some
But
people
yeah, I
are
mean,
speaking that some people are speculating that OpenAI is editing the weights of GPT-4 directly in some cases to erase some behavior, like doing AI lobotomy, in order to get it to stop doing certain things, and that and they're thinking that maybe that's an explanation for the feeling that the call of GPT-4 deteriorates over time. And that but it's a completely different chapter. What I really wanted to say is that a huge uh, learning resource for this kind of thinking about world models and how they can help AIs to act out actions in the real world is the latest Lex Friedman podcast episode with where he's interviewing Jan LeCun, the head of AI at Meta, and where they really go into depth about world models, and like how to carry out plans in representation space instead of in, like, because the AI needs to decide where, or the AI developer needs to decide where the AI should think and plan and understand things. Should it be in text, or should it be in some kind of more abstract representation? And so they discuss that at depth, which is a really interesting insight into how Meta is thinking.
yeah, that's on my like listen next in list in YouTube. But I mean, so just to round that off and maybe dive a little bit deeper into what you're doing. I mean, it feels like it's reasonable to expect these things coming live in society, right?
Mm-hmm.
And us interacting with them. And I feel like this is kind of a, having a robot physically in front of me is kind of a real connection, compared to having a chatbot on a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's much more real, being able to do things, interact with it, and I guess the other part of that, which is getting more and more attention, Pi is getting more attention, and I want to, hear more how things are going for you at Kinship. But it's kind of the emotional side of things, right? So actually having, interacting with the AI in a more human kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, so do you want to talk, and of course voice is like a big part of that. So do you want to just give the overview of what kind of, what you've been thinking about and discovering, and maybe what you're working on?
Yeah. So for anyone that wants to build voice capability into their apps or their AI apps, there are two great Y Combinator startups to look into. One is called Vapi, VAPI, Vapi.ai, and the other one is Retail.ai. And they are both offering the same kind of API where you can get um, a really fast, like low latency voice recognition service together with, if you don't want to provide your own sort of reasoning engine, they can provide that too. And you give a script or some documents for it to work from, and then they can have a conversation with your user, or that you get the capability to have a voice conversation with your user. And it's the same thing that I've been working on with Kindship for the past 6 months or so. Although what I did from the start, I realized that this is going to be really huge. So I took on sort of voice on hard mode from the start. So what I'm building is pretty much what Vapi and Retail have launched the past month. They are both the Y Combinator companies as well. It's nice to see that Y Combinator believes enough in AI voice as a space to invest in, that they are hedging with two different startups doing exactly the same thing, with some nuances. But uh, the biggest limitation that they have taken on to be able to launch as early as possible, and which is that they are predominantly focused on English as a language, and they are only handling one speaker at a time. And they've also, like, in order to make sure that they are focusing on an environment where they've um, only have one speaker. They've built this kind of phone bridge where you can actually ask them to make calls over Twilio. So you can have the AI call someone or call yourself, and you can have a discussion over the phone with the AI. And of course, that is an environment where you rarely encounter more than one person. But that's so with Kindship, what I've taken on is the situation where which is much more open, that you have many speakers potentially, and speakers coming in and out of the meeting. It's not that you are up front who is going to be participating in the conversation, and also that you don't know what languages are going to appear. Like, you can have a conversation in Swedish or Icelandic, but then someone puts on a YouTube video in English, and the AI needs to keep up with that and understand that I'm going to switch my understanding to English now. And so what I've been working on with Kindship is really that flexibility of multiple speakers, multiple languages, and also in real time. And it sort of takes the challenge to the next level with voice AI. But it also becomes really interesting and a really great learning experience to work with.
So what do you think application wise then? Is that like first, Zoom, so to say, like video calls, etc., where there could be multiple people? And
Yeah,
secondly, I guess with the robots, that's, maybe you'll be an app on Optimus, right?
yeah.
In the sense that, like, is that like how you're thinking about, like, why you're tackling that?
Yeah, so there's the voice bot AI companies have taken on is first and foremost the interruptible discussion, where the AI starts speaking, you can interrupt them with when you're noticing that we're off to the wrong start with the response, you can actually start talking over them, and they will stop and listen. And so that's a really like a low hanging fruit to get more flowy conversations. And uh, um, and also what the challenge of multiple speakers is to understand when is someone addressing the AI and not. If you have a two-party conversation, you know that everything said is directed to the AI, but when you have multiple people speaking, maybe the AI is listening into a meeting or a conversation between humans, and they have a role to fulfill. They need to understand what is my what am I doing here as a participant? Am I taking notes, or am I providing information on the topics? And those lead to hugely different behaviors. And with a voice bot, where you have one person to talk to, you know that then that person connects to the AI. It retains a conversation for as long as the human decides to, and then disconnects. And understanding the intent of the human in that situation is a much more closed problem than what I'm taking on with kindship, where the AI
Right.
needs to understand, like, should I even say something here or not?
Yeah. And if we look at retail and Vapi, which from my understanding, I haven't looked into them yet, makes it kind of easy for us, say in Multiply, to let the user interact with different models or maybe with our product via voice,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
But have they also taken on, at least what I think you were talking about previously, the AI relate, like understanding not only what I'm saying, but maybe how I'm feeling, when I'm saying it, why I'm saying it, basically trying to up the level of the human emotional understanding of, like, via voice. Because I know that you were talking about that previously,
Mm,
like, because a companion, you kind of want to feel you, so to
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
right? Is that still like, or how are they positioning, and how are you thinking about that?
No, so they are not doing any of that. They are completely relying on the LLM, the underlying LLM, to understand that. So they are not going to be more responsive to your emotional output than a text-based LLM is. Which, of course, if you're saying to the text-based LLM, "I'm really sad today," it's going to hopefully ask you about that. Why are you sad? You want to talk? Do you want to talk about that more? But so what? And that's where it comes down to the directions you give their APIs. If you want the AI to go there or not, maybe a lot of their demos is just about like booking a haircut or buying a car or responding to a customer service call, and then you're you are supposed to keep to the facts. If a user is calling in asking to cancel their haircut appointment, even if they sound sad, it's not something the AI should reflect on or comment on, because they are in a professional setting where they're just their duty is to care about the facts. So it's a really, like, it's a huge space when you think about it with voice AI. What is actually the intent of the human? What is the situation that you're in? And thinking about what kind of problems you want to solve with your voice AI is really directing the way you want to develop the capabilities needed.
Yeah, I mean, that is I mean, sounds like a narrow Y Combinator, like, niche to start with.
Yeah.
And I think, like, the other one that's gotten a lot of attention recently, and I haven't tried it because I have like no desire to, but I know it's popular, is Pi, right,
Yes.
by Inflection AI,
Yeah.
which is really going for kind of, now I don't remember, but I think they even had emotional in their slogan or something, like,
Mm.
like, or at least subtext or something, that basically it's a very personal companion type thing. It's very focused on, you and understanding you and feeling you.
Yeah.
Have like, so that feels like they are focused on Her, basically, the
Mm.
movie Her,
Hmm.
right? And um like, do you have any, like, so you're also talking about, like, if we dive a bit deeper, how these things like kind of work and what the challenges are and what kind of what have been overcome now and what are still remaining. So you talked a little bit about the ones that are remaining that you're focusing on, right? Which is
Yeah.
multiplayer basically,
Yeah.
and not only interruptible AI, but equal kind of participating AI, if I understood it.
Yeah.
Only, or maybe.
Well, my intention is to have that as well as an open, like a flexibility in the AI to understand
Right.
what role am I assigned here. Should I be a silent note taker, or should I jump in if I hear a factual error, or should I be an active participant in the conversation? And like solving that, it really comes down to just prompting the LLM for analyzing that, like among all the participants in the conversation right now, where are they addressing their what they're saying? Are they addressing to each other, and or are they addressing it to the AI, and to have it pick up on when the AI is being addressed, and be silent otherwise.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are there any other, like, and then the speed, like, what if we look at like VAPI and retail, and I guess I'm not sure if you've tried Pi, but like, what's the latency like right now? Is the feeling of these like voice interactions that it's fluid, or is it a little bit like the figure demo where it's like the guy says something, the the robot
Mm.
sits there for 5
Mm.
seconds and then it says something, like,
Yeah.
what's the.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on when the figure robot is silent. Like they are doing plans, translating them to this real world layer and world model and so on. But so what is coming, what is visible on YouTube, if you look on YouTube with a lot of people building voice bots now, what they are mostly relying on is actually that there is so fast inference available now. Like there's this, like Grok has really revolutionized throughput. You can get a page of text in like a few, like maybe 1,000 milliseconds, or like a second or so. But but what I think that VAPI and retail, which is because I am forced to do that with Kindship as well, that even um, a couple of seconds is too long to have a flowy conversation. So you have to employ some kind of strategy to cover that, to have the AI have a canned response to respond with while it's thinking about what it's going to say. So it's sort of a short term, long term thing, where the short term is just what I'm going to say the first 2 seconds, to give me time to think about what am I going to say from second 2 to second 8 or something, like, depending on how long the utterance is going to be. So
There's going to be a lot of okay,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You have like 100 of those and then it just rolls them,
exactly. So
kind of.
that's what we are doing with um, with human speech as well. Now,
Yeah.
when I'm pausing to think about what I'm gonna say next, what I'm doing is that I'm using sounds like that in order to it's called it, like in the research terms, is floor holding. That I'm holding the floor, so you are not going to take over the floor. I'm using sounds like that in order to keep the floor, uh, and sort of have the speaking stand. And then there are floor giving techniques and floor taking techniques that as humans are using very subconsciously in order to give space to someone or take space for ourselves to talk.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's a good point to end on. I feel it's like it's pretty interesting with this technology shift that it's really about replicating a lot of the things we do as that are like very close to how we are human, like how
Mhm.
we think, how we plan, how we kind of do these subtle things in our social interactions. It's like, and I think really like this with the robots and I think voice interaction also, because that's like so much, like, you know, writing a letter to someone, I guess people did for, you know, 100 years or so, or, you know, a few hundred years. But like voice is, you know, very close to us, right? And the physical world is very close to us. I feel like this is like, if chat was the first leap, I really feel like I'm not even sure how much chat will be around, honestly, in a few years. Like how big an interface that will be. I'm not sure it will be, actually.
Yeah.
But you know, it's hard to say now. But I'm not certain.
I think at the very least it will disappear as the mandatory interface. That there will be even if you're interacting on a screen, there will be a microphone button next to the keyboard. There already is one on our phones. It's going to become smarter and smarter, I think. But maybe the keyboard is going to be less and less important for us in the future. I certainly hope so. Like it's really micromanagement, like to spell out a word for the computer. Like it's like first comes letter A and then comes letter B. I mean, to say something with our fingers is a great way to communicate. Now, when we have text as the only medium, but over time, I hope that we can spend more and more time being human, and instead of adapting to what the machines needs with their text-based digital inputs.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Okay,
Awesome.
I mean, thank you, Martin.
Thanks, Rasmus, and thank you to our listeners for being with us all the way through co-creating with AI. And we're going to follow up sooner or later. I'm going to have a demo as well with the Kindship bot can participate in the meeting. We're just going to solve that, like technically, how are they embodied or not embodied in the podcast recording, and then we can have a lot of fun with that.
Sure. Have a good day, man.
You too.